One, two, three.
Thank you, my governor. Friends, we all have a Governor Hunt story. Please indulge me before I take on my primary task to share mine. And that is that this great governor took a chance on a 29-year-old woman of color to serve as a district court judge here in what was the 12th Judicial District. I don't mind sharing with you, Governor, that there were times when I asked myself, was I up to it? Could I really do it? Was the responsibility with which I had been tasked, was it too much for me? Well, I worked as hard as I knew how to work because I didn't want to disappoint my mama, did not want to disappoint myself, and I did not want to disappoint you. After serving 12 and a half years here as a district court judge, this governor took another chance on me and appointed me to the North Carolina Court of Appeals. It is from my office at the Court of Appeals that I looked out for over 8 years onto the grounds of the North Carolina Capitol. And it is there that I saw each spring the many groups of students that came up to our Capitol. And what I saw did not make me feel good because it reminded me so much of my experience. What I saw was those elementary and middle school students. The white students were climbing on the various statues and enjoying the grounds and reading about the various Civil War heroes. And the black students held back. It was as if they didn't know where they fit in or what they were supposed to do. They had heard just enough about the Civil War to understand that they had been slaves and that war was fought over them. Well, I support this center because it is for the children, like the young ladies or Girl Scouts that we saw pledging, leading the Pledge of Allegiance. This center is about educating and teaching our young people about our North Carolina history. You cannot just learn about the good parts of the history. You need to know it all. You need to have the complete story. And so that's why I support this effort and have been with the effort not as long as Mary Lynn Bryant, but I have been on board with this. Let me also add, before I go on to my primary charge, that there are many good ideas that start off with less than 100% agreement. I'm told that the Civil Rights Museum in Greensboro had strong opposition initially because there were those in the community that felt that it would only dredge up bad memories and it would divide the community. That is now one of the best museums in the country, and that is what I predict about this Civil War and Reconstruction Center here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Folks aren't going to come here to look at guns and other relics from the Civil War. They're going to be able to tap into the scholarship and the many stories that are to be told. But my charge, as I've said, this is the third time, is to introduce our speaker. It is my pleasure and my privilege to introduce Professor of History and renowned author, Dr. Orville Vernon Burton. We welcome him here and his partner and wonderful wife, Georgianne, to Fayetteville. We thank him for being a part of this afternoon's ribbon cutting and groundbreaking of the Civil War and Reconstruction Center. It's quite fitting that we have an eminent historian address us this afternoon, as we are situated on historic land and grounds where faded memories of history still linger. Dr. Burton is the inaugural Judge Matthew J. Perry Distinguished Chair of History and Professor of Pan-African Studies, Sociology and Anthropology, and Computer Science at Clemson University. And by the way, he's the director of the Clemson Cyber Institute. Now, I should pause here to allow you all to take all of that in. History, sociology, anthropology, computer science. What a range of scholarship and expertise. And that's our speaker, a scholar, a historian, an author, a Southern man who's able to speak so eloquently about the story and the history of his beloved region. He was raised after the death of his father. He was 7 years of age when he lost his father, but he was raised by a single mother. And he'll tell you, if you pull him to the side, that he's the biggest mama's boy there ever was. But Dr. Burton is a prolific author and scholar, and he's written more than 20 articles. His research and his teaching interests are American history, with a particular focus on the American South, including race relations and community, and the intersection of humanity and social science. He has so many honors. I'm not going to go in and to try and list them here. And while I'll not try to speak for Dr. Burton or even forecast his message to us today, I will say that he understands, as James Baldwin wrote, that the great force of history comes from the fact that we carry it with us and are unconsciously controlled by it in many ways. And history is literally present in all that we do. Enough said. I ask our speaker, author Orville Vernon Burton, to come forward and to further enlighten